Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Mattos, Adam Peak, and Cory Connors. Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Monday, February 27th, and today we've got our friend Cory Connors at Corrugated on the TikToks.
Good morning.
And we got Adam Peak at Packaging Pastor on the TikToks as well.
Hi.
And you got me, Evelio Mattos, host of Packaging Unboxed on the TikToks. And,
hey, Evelio, how are you?
On the YouTube. It's freezing. It's freezing here.
Last show you said I didn't bring enough energy.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, last show we were, I don't know what happened. It was the energy was sucked out of the room for some reason.
I've got 16 shots of espresso in my reusable Starbucks mug.
Let's have a coffee break.
Yeah.
Coffee talk amongst yourselves.
All of us using reusable containers. I hope
that's
you
right.
see.
100%.
Yes. Although I will say this particular Starbucks one that I bought for $1 United States dollar does not keep beverages very hot. It's like you better drink that
I like
one.
These Contigos.
Yes,
I like them a lot. That's a good brand.
Well, Cory, you've had that one for like 10 years.
And I've used it thousands of times, I swear.
He got it for his high school graduation.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, junior high.
Back in 2013 when Cory graduated from high school. Shout out to all the 2013 high school grads, by the way.
It was the 90s, believe it or not.
I believe it.
I can't even remember that far back.
Oh my God.
If you are watching this, if you are here joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you are, just throw in the comments like where you're listening from. We've gotten some pretty distant viewers, which has been pretty awesome. You know, everywhere from like Egypt to Milwaukee.
It's pronounced Milwaukee.
Oh, the good land.
Which is Algonquin for the good land.
Hey,
welcome.
We got our buddy Johnny Quinn.
JQ.
What's up, Jay Quinn?
That's right. So, all right. So, what are we talking about today? I can feel the vacuum of energy. What's good?
Let's use it.
Well, it needs to be a catalyst of energy. We need to. Man, we're all over the place.
We are, dude. Florida. Wow. Oh, our buddy Brian from Florida.
What's up, Drew?
Hey, Drew.
Drew Felty coming in from the packaging school. We love those.
CEO, I believe. Yeah.
What's that?
How are you, sir? Isn't he the CEO?
Chief Packaging Officer?
Yeah, Chief Executive Officer.
Paul's coming in from unknown, it looks like.
Yeah, that's right.
UK. Paul doesn't know where he is.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. That's a wild Monday morning or whatever time it is in the unknown.
All right. So real quick, why I want to ask you a question. Why does Costco use such gigantic packaging for their tiny little products?
Theft prevention is what I was told many years ago.
What do you think, Adam?
I think it's because I actually talked to it was Michael Carrier on my podcast about this, and I haven't. You sent out articles, and you're like, we should talk about these today, and I clicked on them and have not read them. So if this is the article you're going to share,
you got to speed read.
I cannot speed read. But
I've read them twice
because
so
of
I don't know what's wrong with that.
They don't want product to be sitting out on the floor too long. So if they put a ton of like small packaging in a pallet and it sits there for a while, then that's not helpful for the turn of their products. Or Michael, if you are on and listening to this, please jump in and stop me from speaking nonsense and defaming your name. But you can go listen to the entire episode if you search for People of Packaging podcast and find my episode with Michael Carrier. But it was really fascinating. I didn't quite know. There's a sweet spot between maximizing pallet efficiency and having the right size in order to generate the right kind of energy on the floor.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're both kind of right. I'll tell you the right answer because I know what the right answer is.
Is it at businessinsider.com?
Because he read the article.
No, I just skimmed it to the part that gave me the answer. There are 3 key reasons.
Holy crap! Michael's mentioned in this.
Oh wow!
Of course.
With the extra material might strike some excessive time to packaging consultant Michael Carrier. So it's actually a key piece of Costco's overall strategy. Everyone, Michael Carrier is that dude.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
That's the
Continue
guy.
on.
Yeah. So there's 3 key reasons that a supplier is not going to send tightly packed, like 2-inch, bottles of cosmetic or an SD card in a tiny little pack.
Right.
One, it's less stable on display, right? If you think of like those big cards that they have, they've got inserts in their display units so that everything stands up.
Yep.
And then 2, it would contain too many units for Costco to sell through quickly, which is what Adam said. And then 3 is having that much product. Think of those tiny little SD cards on an entire pallet. It would be too expensive to put into each of the Costcos. I hadn't really thought about it, so they're saying it's like having $20,000 of high-end face cream on a pallet on the floor isn't good business. Is what Michael Carrier said.
Fascinating.
So crazy. As we talk about like sustainability and like downside, right sizing, we've got Costco on the complete opposite end, which is just, make it as big as possible. But there's a reason for it. And Charles, many years ago when I was in the Cory industry, I was told by our sales guy on the account that it was to imply greater value to the customer.
That makes sense.
Could be that. I had an interesting moment the other way. I wish I kept it with me, but I drove 11 hours on Saturday to watch a 1A high school basketball game. It was 5.5 hours down, 5.5 hours back. And I picked up some GT kombucha at a Maverick on my way down. I love it. And I picked up the bottle and I was like, oh no, they've changed the size of the glass. And it went from a 12 ounce to a 10 ounce. And I was like,
same price. Yeah.
I don't like this. I didn't feel it was only 2 ounces and maybe the price went down 20%. I'm not like a kombucha pricing expert. I don't have a grid or anything like that. Or a spreadsheet where every time I buy kombucha, I'm tracking it. Maybe the price did go down, but the overall perceived feel of it, I was like, oh, they're trying to trick me.
Yeah.
Like they're making it, but I could immediately tell this is only 10 ounces and it was still like $3.75 or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
And you're not going to buy 2.
No, not. Can't do that. That's wasteful.
Yeah.
Size matters.
Yeah.
Right. When you're talking about packaging, because, like somebody said here in terms of, like Charles mentioned, it's just that perceived value, and any of those little adjustments that you make, consumers are either going to feel like they're getting ripped off or that they're getting a good deal. Right. So you have to kind of figure out which side of the line you want to be on.
It's KPIs, by the way, Hugh. It's kombucha pricing index. And
that's what that means.
That's just like the FBI.
Totally. No, I totally agree with that. And I think it does, real quick before we move on to the next one, I think it also shows the complexity of packaging decisions when it comes to designers and understanding the total life cycle of the product. Because so many people get so laser focused on one particular area and they forget that there is wait for it, a vast cornucopia of places where that packaging and that product needs to go through. And so understanding what that is and understanding the rules and what drives things and what your customer is looking for, it's not as simple as just like put it in a paper box and send it on its way. It's why there are doctors in packaging.
Yeah.
Right.
And packaging design. I mean, Dr. Vicky Van Hurley is a design doctor, right?
And there are ways around these constraints by going to a half pallet or going to a card purchase where you take a card and you bring it to the checkout register. Things like that are a way to, ship more efficiently and use less packaging for Costco. Costco is an amazing store. I don't know if Adam would have a TikTok account if it wasn't for Costco. I mean, there's so much value there and so much to learn as a packaging professional. I highly recommend checking out Adam's TikTok because it's really interesting. There's a lot as a packaging professional to know about what to do and what not to do.
Yep.
100%. Like I don't know, like one of my favorite packs out there is Monday Hair Care. They do, it's a square bottle that's like round cornered, and they do a 2-pack at Costco.
It's Tupac.
Yeah.
They do a 2-pack at Costco, and and it's just like a simple corrugate outer, but because of the shape of the bottles, it fits so well. And then it also has like this little handle that's built in. It's like super, super killer. And I mean, if you haven't seen Monday Hair Care, go check it out. They do like that pack. I think has changed like just the hair care aisle completely. There's so many other brands that are moving into that shape. One, you're getting the added value in terms of the added volume that you're able to fit in a master carton because of the shape and the way that it billboards on on a shelf. It's just flat instead of round, so you're getting a lot more color, a lot more be able differentiation. Of course, not everybody else is doing it, so now you're getting a lot of the same. But Monday Hair Care is definitely something to check out. I was trying to pull up this thing I was watching this weekend. It was on. Here's the part that I suck at is I can't remember what show I watched. It was either the CBS Sunday Morning, 2020, or 60 Minutes. It was one of those three. I have a pick, but it was talking about food waste, and one of the reasons there's so much food waste was the cost to get food from field to market. And I think like one of the items they were talking about was cabbages, and they had like this huge farm that all their food went to waste because it was too expensive to get it to market. But they were saying one of the reasons was that corrugate was so expensive, which goes counter to the conversation we had with Ryan Fox in terms of the cost of corrugate coming down.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. So like they let their entire harvest just rot on the field this past harvest, which I thought was pretty crazy.
And there's stipulations. If it only grows to a certain size, it's not acceptable for a retail store. So maybe only 80% of their goods were large enough, and at a certain tipping point, it's not worth harvesting. Or there was flooding, and then there was droughts, and the farmers have such a difficult time. I totally sympathize for them.
It's a crapshoot. It's like it's either. I think it's like if it was 9 inches or more, then you can pull the cabbage. If it wasn't, then the machine wouldn't pick it up. But It's like, I'm going to eat it regardless. I don't,
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like that company Imperfect Produce, and there's a couple of other similar ones now that are trying to harvest that kind of thing. And the funny shaped apple, the small onion, the cabbage that's too small or too big, those kinds of things are valuable. People will buy them, like you just said, and we want them. We want to save them from the landfill or from the compost heap. So, well said.
Yeah, no, crazy stuff, man. Misfit Market, that's another one. Misfits Market is another one who that does that. So there's this thing that's happening in your neck of the woods, Cory. It's the solution for. There's a solution in the Washington legislature for our growing trash problem. I'm assuming you read that article as well.
I've read a lot of articles about Washington lately. They're making some big changes in their rules and regulations. The same with Oregon's DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality.
Yeah, there's the RAP Act, the House Bill 1131.
I don't know if I've read that one specifically.
Okay, that one it says it modernizes the way our state manages recycling in Washington, putting costs of the system back to the producer. So it's another EPR system.
Yeah.
But again, this kind of goes back to a lot of things that we talk about, where if every state is coming up with their own process and plan to penalize manufacturers of packaging or brands in terms of the packaging that itself, it becomes impossible to manage. You can't really negotiate these obstacles when every single state, every single city has something completely different. It just becomes a mess, like what we have already.
Right. It's a real challenge. You're exactly right. And when I went to the Association for Oregon Recyclers, and we spent hours, several days actually, talking about the planned extended producer responsibility laws and all the changes for the DEQ. And they were talking about new material recycling facilities, new specific sorting facilities that will then once again sort materials like plastics into their exact materials, so that there's an actual recycling stream. One of the things that was surprising was styrofoam, polystyrene. They expected it to be outlawed, but what they found was it's really recyclable, and it's very easy to condense it. They have these very inexpensive machines that melt it down into essentially like a paste, and then it becomes very easy to recycle. They just need a stream of use and a value creation for that material. So lots of things like that are coming through the pipe, but you're exactly right. We need to standardize it nationally.
Yeah, it's a mess. And Jay Quinn's speaking about this week. So I think it'd be great if John, if we can get you on next Monday, kind of give us a rundown of what you spoke about and what you learned, so we can all kind of, if you're doing it today and tomorrow, then we'd love to hear from you on Monday. We'll have you on the show on Monday. That'd be great.
Yep,
that's awesome.
Because again, there's just so much happening. Like, I think a part of the WRAP Act is that there's going to be a 10% deposit on all cans and bottles, going back to that deposit scheme, which raises the price of product to the consumer. But of course you get that back, but it's just another hit to the wallet.
The hard part, I think that this is not a thing that we're going to solve on the Packaging Today show or anytime soon.
Speak for yourself.
The issue is
Evelio and I are going to.
Sorry, no, that's fine. You after the call, you can fix this.
No,
but
good point.
You have competing interests on the same side, where it's like there are people who are like, recycling is bad, it's not working, and we need to punt, and we need to go to compost, we need to go to no packaging, like don't fix recycling, it's lost. Right. And then you have other states and other people and lobbyists and companies who are like, no, we need to invest in recycling. And then it's like, no, we need to invest in what we do with our landfill and and it's like, and so these states are picking what, and there's value in all of it. That's the problem. There's not one like good versus evil. And so you've got Oregon, you've got Washington, you've got Maine, you've got Colorado, Vermont and New Hampshire, like all of these states, and California has their plastic ban. And then it's like, if you're just trying to ship products across state lines, you have to figure out, what's the most aggressive one, and then go into that, and then you just have to pivot and change and move. It's until there's some sort of agreement federally on a direction. I think we're just going to be in this for a while, and people who do consulting around EPR and sustainability are going to have jobs for a while, because this is a really, really hard thing to figure out.
And the amount of money being invested into recycling is massive right now. I don't think those numbers are shared equally amongst things like composting. Chris Bradley just spoke down at APEC last week. We were down there, and he said there's only 125 composting facilities right now in the whole country. Yeah. That's not enough. That's not enough. And I'm not aware of large investment in that zone. So what do we do? And I think Adam's right. We need to do more in all areas.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not one silver bullet here. I do want to go back to Gary's question here in terms of like, if a lot of that food, we were talking about food waste, can that go into animal feed? I think the thing with that is you still have to get it off the farm, right? You still have to get it off the land. So you still have to harvest it. You still have to pack it. You still have to ship it.
Bring in the goats.
Yeah. So there's a cost there as well. And that's the crazy part, is like people are just letting that go to waste because it just costs too much.
And it will get turned back into the soil, and it will become nutrients for the next crop. But you're right. It should be used for something positive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we got Ankit saying does using monomaterial laminated pouch really help reduce plastic waste and its effect on the environment? Adam.
Well, as a what was I most interesting social media account in plastics and plastics news, I did
2022 and 2023.
I was 30th place in that contest.
I know. It was a tough break. But I mean, so again, you follow the value stream, right? And so the monomaterial, and Jonathan Quinn is maybe we can have this conversation with him next week as well. But the mono material is not easy to recycle, right? It's still in the US, there has to be some sort of extra step. You have to collect it. You have to go take it to the in-store drop-off. You want to make sure that you know that it's going to go there, that it's free of contaminants, all that kind of stuff. So it's not simple to do, but it can be done. And you do you kind of put some of the pressure back on, oh, Jonathan won in 2021. That's fair. That's fair. Well, you know what? How does it feel? How does it taste to be?
That's right.
Just, it's tough break.
Sorry, John.
I once took second in a baby beauty pageant contest in 1982 in
Santa
Clara
last
County.
week.
And it said I was 98% beautiful. I was 100% healthy, and that's why I took second.
It's not terrible.
So anyway, so yes, it does. It can. It's just that the rates of return right now are really low, but there is value. People want to get really clean monomaterial flexible films to turn it into building materials. It's not like it's going and turning back into a monomaterial
another
fab,
pouch,
right?
Yeah.
But when it's lumber, this is the thing that people don't think about too often, is when it turns into Trex decking or whatever kind of lumber or building material it is, then it allows for trees to stay planted longer. And that Trex decking is phenomenal. It stays for a while. You don't have to get stains all the time and repainting and all that kind of stuff. So there is a lot of value when you kind of follow it down. It's just that it's hard to collect right now. And it would be great if it was easier to collect. And that's why Jonathan is going to win the award in 2023, because I'm not super clear on it.
Evelio is going to win next year, or this year.
That's right, because you know me, man. I'm
going to get 29th place.
I bleed plastic.
Well, and with the onset of extended producer responsibility, the value of post-consumer materials is going to skyrocket, I believe. And I think that'll happen. It'll take 5 to 10 years. But what you're going to see things like Chandru from South Africa talks about how they have to import, post-consumer recycled material. It's because there's not enough, and the people that he's selling materials to are demanding a certain percentage. It's just not available in that country because it's so valuable.
Yep.
So let's hope that happens in perpetuity and it becomes necessary to recycle.
Yeah, I mean,
legally.
Yeah, I think the one thing, another thing to add on to this layered cake of sustainability is speaking to like Eva Lagarde. One of the things she was explaining, and I think when she was talking to Tom Zaki as well, it's like if you're doing food grade cosmetic packaging or food grade packaging, that can't be mixed in with the rest of the stuff because then it loses its food grade quality, right? And everybody in food grade and in cosmetics is really looking for that food grade PCW. So that means just basically another stream that we need to add on to the already complex number of streams and that we've got going on at the moment. And I think, collection is probably the most difficult part, or at least separation is going to be the most difficult part here.
Yes. Well, AMP Robotics, I think, will help a lot. Companies like that are using AI to sort materials will come to the lead and really help the process.
I'm pretty sure ChatGPT and Midjourney are going to fix sorting and recycling as well.
Once they're self-aware, yes.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
We're speaking into the digital internet, saying, "Please be kind to us, self-aware AI." In the future,
we appreciate you. Yeah.
Yes.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, and of course, every state, every country, every city has their own laws that they're trying to put into place, and everybody's trying to outdo the next. The next one, and it just makes it more and more complex. I know if we look at what we're seeing in France with their no plastic, just zero acceptance for plastics, that's having a huge impact across different markets. Right. It's not easy. That's the problem, is that sustainability isn't as easy as some people make it out to be, where it's like, oh, just switch from here to here. And it's like, well, what's the snowball after that, right? Like what happens? Okay, so if you go from 0 this thin plastic to a heavier paper, like what's the trade-off?
Right.
What's actually happening behind the scenes in production, in collection, in manufacturing, what's happening after the fact in separation, in recycling. Like
Yeah.
there's a bigger conversation that needs to happen. Um, I don't know. I think that's the biggest thing is like, it's just more complicated than people assume that it is.
I think a good analogy would be, and I know we're getting here towards the end, but
Yeah.
think about your personal life, right? It is, you can be more sustainable. Like think about the energy usage and consumption of your laptop and your computer and your cell phone and your internet. You can get rid of all that and be more sustainable. But what's the downstream effect? You can't work from home. You can't get phone calls in your house. You can't be communicating. So just there are those sorts of things where it's like, yes, you can switch from this material to this material, but it's like getting rid of your home internet and your cell phone in your house. Like you lose so much functionality in your life that it's not a good trade-off.
I posted a couple videos recently on social media just saying, why don't you recycle? And the responses I'm getting are mostly because it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. And so there's an attitude shift that needs to happen amongst a large percentage of the population of the world that they need to understand that there is value here. You can personally make a difference. And I think, even if it's a small difference, if we all did it, it could be big.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I would say in terms of like recycling, right? You do feel like, okay, well, I'm going to put my can in the right bin. Like what difference does it make when we just had a train disaster that just poured out vinyl chloride all over the place? Like here I am making one little dent, and then here's like, the complete opposite. It doesn't feel like you're making as big of a difference as you potentially are.
But here's the message to the millions of people listening to this right now across the world, billions, really.
Yes.
Built with a B, right? Billions.
Is don't
people of planet Earth.
don't get so hung up on stuff you can't control, right? Like
100%.
Just focus on what you can control, do the right thing that you can control, and that's it. Like you can't control whether a train derails or a volcano erupts or whether cows are passing gas. Like whatever it is that you think is like really terrible, like freaking do what you can do. That's right. People are really quick to criticize, and it's like The Man in the Arena, which is one of my favorite poems. Like the critic is easy, but when you're the one in the arena, when you're the one doing the stuff, like it's hard.
Yeah.
So forget being a critic, like be part of the solution.
Well said.
Yeah, I think that's great. Just focus on what you can control. And if you can put Hook's Rub in the right, I just saw your hat. I just read your hat.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if you can do your part, at home, when you're shopping, making smart decisions in purchasing and in separating and, teaching those around you on how to actually recycle and make better choices. If you're a designer, designing smart in terms of your packaging, right sizing, using, understanding what materials you're choosing, what happens on the production side. If you're a manufacturer, making sure that you've got transparency. There's so many different areas that you can control, and that's where you should really, really focus. Quick question from Seth. We got, what happens when no one buys recycled materials? Is it going to end up right back in landfill? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, that's typically what happens, right? Is if you can't sell it, it's got to go somewhere. They can't store it. So make sure that you're buying
we used to ship it to
recycled
China,
material.
and then we'd cross our fingers, right? And then the China national sword policy came in, and it was like, oh no, we can't do that. So
so currently stuff is going to Africa, and at the moment, Africa is considering a similar policy as well to not accept exported plastics.
Yeah.
Right. Which I mean, it changes the way that you have to operate. Fred, who's building the world's largest packaging museum.
Oh, Fred, I gotta ship you my super accurate Spot-O-Matic enlarging meter.
Consumers of base level need to understand what that. Same thing as tobacco. Once penny drops, they vote with their. So that is a great segue. Before we wrap up here, I did put this together. Hang on one second. There is an article about North Carolina University doing a study on potentially changing, would people buy, if I can even find this now, I suck.
I got it.
Yeah, would people buy soda that had just like cigarettes have like these horrible images on them, would people buy things that had like a high level of sugar on them and having images of just terrible, terrible things that happen to your body? One of the examples was, like a gangrenous foot from diabetes.
The rich man's disease, right, Adam?
No, that's gout.
That was gout.
Oh, gout.
Which I don't have any longer.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was a little bit shocked in Paris, looking at going through the shops and seeing the tobacco packaging. Some of the pictures are pretty darn gross. I think that would have an impact. I really do.
Yeah, I think people would choose not to. I don't know. Do you want to put that up to your mouth? But I guess people do, right? What they do with their cigarettes.
Yeah.
So basically, this is like, would you buy this can, right? And this was the brand. This was the foot image. Would you buy this can of Fanta with a warning that has a gangrenous foot on here, or like an enlarged heart?
The article said that sales dropped 24% for sugary drinks in the store when they added
those
things.
That's a massive decline.
It's interesting. At so we go to an awesome church here in Salt Lake City, and yesterday on Sunday we were talking about this 10-10-10 principle. Like, when you're about to do something, think like, what's going to happen to me in 10 minutes? What's going to happen in 10 days? What's going to happen in 10 months? Before, just like before you're going to decide something, just think through that, right? A picture like that, shout out to Pastor Cory J. Hodges. He's a great dude. A picture like that shows like, okay, what's going to happen to me in 10 years? Like, it pulls into the decision-making process. Like, oh, do I want this to happen?
Yeah.
Right.
No. Then maybe you decide to not do that at that time, right? Like, but when we make it so that we don't have those consequences, when it's like, oh no, nothing bad's going to happen to you. Sure, that's not going to happen if you drink one Fanta. You're not going to get gangrene, right? But if you're reminded of it every single time, because
maybe you will,
you're drinking it every single day for 50 years, or if you're smoking cigarettes every day, then that's a thing that can happen.
Yeah, I'd say the other thing. But if you're drinking it and you don't get gangrene like that, you're like, oh, well, I'm fine. And you just keep drinking it, right? It's like you don't think through like, this is what's happening.
But if it was on every label in theory, right? And thanks, Drew, for posting the article.
Thank you, Drew.
In the chat on LinkedIn. If you're seeing that image every single day, there's something really powerful about that, right? Like we're bombarded with images all the time and marketing all the time. And if you're seeing that, instead of just like joy, if you're also reminded of the downside of it, your habits will probably start to shift and change a little bit. Like I used to drink a lot of soda, honestly, and in college, I maybe have one every quarter. Like I just don't, my habits shifted when this is just a personal thing. And like, I really enjoy sparkling water. I drink a lot of water and coffee. That's about it.
And kombucha.
But I don't drink a lot of kombucha.
Not 10 ounce.
I don't have the KPI, right?
You can't drink a 10 ounce. That's too small.
I'm going with, I'm going to drink 14 ounces of Brew Doctor.
Yeah. Made in Oregon.
Oregon. Brew Doctor for all your kombucha needs.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody joining us. We got to wrap this up.
We're not sponsored. Yeah,
no, we're not yet.
All right. So, Cory, Adam,
I do want to give a quick shout out. It's I wore my hat and my hoodie. It's our last Monday in February, which is Black History Month. And so my friend Jared has Hooks Rub and Spices. It's a Black-owned company. It's legitimately, I'm going to put a link in here. It's legitimately the best rubs and spices I've ever had. I get nothing from this other than like Jared has made a really great product. And then our friend Kirk Visola has t-shirts and hoodies. Both just incredible dudes, great people, and want to give them a shout out here. So if you're looking for a great packaging designer with some killer merchandise or some really great rubs and spices, or both, I'll put the link in here on LinkedIn.
It's the most comfortable hoodie I've ever bought.
It's amazing. Literally, I have one for me and one for my son. I'm
Well
not
done,
I'm
Kurt.
not kidding you. There's multiple days where we walk out both wearing it. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh, you're twinning.
we're twinning. Except for he's 4 inches taller than me.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Give us a follow if you guys if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Doesn't matter where, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. We'll get to it. We'll answer it. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Mattos.